Class is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to wherever you are in the world. My name is Krishna Vedula, and I see several good friends of mine here with me have joined. See Sydney Burris from way back. Hi, Sydney. I just noticed that you joined. Sydney, how are you? And as we move along, I might give you a chance to say a few words because you were one of the original pioneers of some of this work that we're doing. Of course, we got many of our industry advisory members, Dilip Chambulkar, Anil Pandit here. Elsie is here with us from Peace Engineering. And we got, of course, Ramiro is here with us, Kaila from IFES, and Krishna Chaitanya from Vardhaman College, very active member of our IUCEE program. And then we got various other people, faculty from various institutions, and I recognize some. Uriel is here from IFE, so I'll make Uriel a panelist just to say hello, and if she wants to make some comments later on, I will give him a chance to do that. Okay, so time to get started. So let's see what this is all about. As you all know, we have just started the IFES webinar series. We have our president Ramiro here. Maybe he might want to just say a few words of welcome, before I get started. Ramiro, you just want to say welcome to everybody for the second IFES webinar. You were the first. You're the first one, and then the next one is going to be by Uriel, if you're there. But that's fine. If you can't, then later on I'll get you in. Okay, so this is about and just to remind you all that we have actually have a very nice schedule of IFES webinars every 2 weeks. And at about this time, usually on Wednesdays, but this week was a little bit different, so we're having it on Thursdays. And we pretty much have booked up all the webinars all the way up to November. So a lot of popular experts in engineering education will be with us. I want to thank you all for joining today. Let me start by introducing myself. Many of you know me, some of you may not. So let's see if I can get the screen going. So this is about an experiment that we have been trying, several of us together, pretty much over the last 10 years or more. And it's an experiment, being a catalyst, playing the role of a catalyst in transforming engineering education. So who am I and why did I get into it? This is a picture from a few years ago. And a little bit of my background just to put things in perspective. We have, I'm a graduate of IIT Bombay in 1967, and then PhD from Michigan Tech University. I taught at various academic institutions throughout the United States for the last X number of years. I've been the Dean of Engineering at the University of Massachusetts Lowell, so that's where I learned about overall engineering education, administration, etc., etc. I stepped down in 2004 and decided to continue being a teacher, and at the same time, slowly got this IUCEE started, Indo-Universal Collaboration for Engineering Education. Initially, it was called Indo-US Collaboration for Engineering Education, and now it's Indo-Universal because now we have a lot of people from various institutions. So I have my colleague here from IUCEE. Sridhar has just joined, so I'm going to make him just back up as an organizer with me. So I'm just going to make him okay. So just to keep going, I was the president of IFES for a couple of years, and now we have Uriel Ukierman, Uriel who was a past president, and Ramiro, who is now the current president, are with us today. And we have about 60 people from around the world just joining us in this in the little conversation that we're going to have about this experiment that we've been doing for a few years. And And my hope is that this experiment will continue to scale up and influence policymakers within India, and hopefully other countries might be able to learn something from the experiment and maybe benefit from it. So the impetus, why did we do this? In about 2007, 2008, we after having spent almost 30 plus years in the United States and having not really looked back at what was happening in India, a bunch of us decided to look back and say, okay, what's going on? And we were pleasantly surprised that there were a large number of engineering colleges that have sprung up in the last 20 years or so. So obviously, there are colleges in all kinds of remote locations providing access to students in a way that was never possible before. So they have somehow figured out that it's possible to get engineering colleges to be started and provide access to the urban and as well as rural remote areas and whoever wants to become an engineer. The problem, of course, with this increase in the number of colleges is that they obviously would not be able to get qualified faculty, and therefore the graduates that come out of these colleges still not ready, and so they works in progress. So and so we thought this is a good opportunity for some of us to figure out, do an experiment and maybe how to make these graduates more employable. And as you will see later on, I will talk about not just employability, but that these graduates should really be leaders and entrepreneurs who can address some of the grand challenges that the world is facing, and which groups such as Peace Engineering and Grand Challenges Program, Engineering Without Borders, Sustainability Development Goals, it's all in that context. So hopefully, the engineers can go beyond just trying to find a job, but actually, try to change the world. So that was kind of like what we thought would be a good way to look at what we're starting. So we felt the need for some kind of an ecosystem. Maybe we could do some kind of an ecosystem to make it possible, to make this to create the environment for the graduates and the students as well as the faculty to move in that direction, not being very clear what that direction was. 2007, 2008, we were fortunate to have some other alums from IITs who had deep pockets, people who have been very successful in their companies, forming companies in India and in the United States. Deshpande, Narayan Murthy, Arjun Malhotra, Gopal Krishnan. They liked the idea of doing something. We were not quite sure what that something would be, but unless you get started, you really won't be able to modify and adapt and change and go in the direction that you want to go. So they provided us with some seed funding, and so there we were, got started. At the end of the second year, one of these folks who, like Narayan Murthy, was very blunt, told me, Krishna, if you are doing something useful for these institutions, they should actually pay for the sustaining the work. So after the first couple of years of funding from these folks, we have moved in that direction, and I'm glad to say that for the most part, the funding that we get now that keeps us going. It's a small organization, but keeps us going, is obtained by funding from the consortium institutions that we have been working with, about 100 of them or so. So these are some of the institutions, and I know some of the participants in today's webinar are from some of these institutions. And I want to thank them all for being staunch supporters of IUCEE and helping make this effort a meaningful experience for all of us. It's a slow process and a patient process. So these are some of the folks who from around the world who have been with us, from IFEAST communities, from IUCEE community, from different parts of the world. Just some of them who make IUCEE what it is and make it happen. We started 2008, 2009, and I have Sydney Burris actually from that, and Vijay Kanabar. I think I hear two folks from that first group of about 25 or so folks that were with us in Mysore, Infosys campus, to give webinars. Short courses, 1 week short courses to several faculty from all over India. We had the topics were teaching and learning, and also specific courses. This was possible because we had funding from our well-wishers. We ran 23 one-week courses in 2008 on the beautiful campus of Infosys to Mysore, and another one, and we found that that worked, and so we went for a second round, and 2009 did that, and we covered about 1,000 faculty from all over India. I would like to particularly point out that Richard Felder and Rebecca Brent, who are on the top of these pictures over here, were very instrumental in inspiring many of us to move in this direction with their emphasis on effective teaching and making it more learner-centric. We have the challenge, of course, at the end of these 2 weeks and at the end of most of the money that we had received after I've spent it was of course to keep this financially sustainable, and then the other challenges was to because a lot of these faculty, they come from different institutions. We faced this problem that they came to the workshop, enjoyed the workshop, learned something from it, but then they go back and surrounded by inertia. They have other faculty who are not really interested in listening to them, and so no change change becomes very difficult. Convincing other faculty, convincing administration was also very difficult, and so we found for the most part many of these faculty just went back to doing what they were doing, because they did not have the appropriate ecosystem within their institution and other type of resources to tap into to continue to do that work, and so we so we gradually started building that ecosystem, and slowly some of these faculty have started coming out and working with us and developing them, and so several of the institutions that are really made a significant effort and made changes in the institution during the past 10 years did have its roots in this first 2 years of work that we did at the workshops. So now, besides having these face-to-face workshops with experts going to India and having workshops for 30, 40 people on certain topics at a given time per week, we now have become really good at conducting these webinars, like the one that I'm giving right now. We are able to do this, and so now that we have about 75 people with us, quite a few people. So I'm just going to demonstrate to you what we do, because webinars, people say, oh well, not very interactive and stuff. We have become very good at actually making these interactive and giving assignments and running courses and blended courses and so on. So let me just give you a sample. I'm going to put up a poll here, and I'm going to launch a poll, just a simple poll, just to find out who you are. So in here is okay, so this one says, who are you? Are you a faculty member? Are you a student? Are you some others? And so I see that most of the folks here today are faculty members. I've got about 58% of you have voted. Let's see if I can get close to 90% of you activated. Okay, so we got about 75 to 80 people in attendance. Let's get going. Okay, so this is just to illustrate to you, in fact, that this is how we conduct some of our courses and webinars, is that we engage our audience through interactivity, because the old mode of just giving a lecture is is even in the classroom is outdated. We need to get students to be involved, students to discuss, engage with each other, and so I've got still a few of you are still sitting back and in a passive mode, but that's fine. 75%. I'm going to close that thing and close that, and then just share, and you see that that you have 86% of your faculty, 4% are students, 11% are from various other backgrounds. So thank you for that poll. Just wanted to give that as just a sample of some of the things that we do as part of this these programs to make these webinars courses that we conduct. So for the past maybe 8-9 years, we've been having this conducting courses, partly face-to-face, partly in this way, synchronous. We can have discussions with each other, polls, and then some of it online, where they go into a learning system and do quizzes and do assignments and get graded and so on. So we continue to conduct courses of this type in the last 5-6 years on outcomes-based education, project management, engineering research, remote labs, and many others in the process. So that's been one of our key means by which this global community is integrated with each other, and hundreds of faculty within the IUCEE system in India, these 100 colleges or so, have become used to participating in this and learning from each other, even though they are sitting in places far away from each other, and so that's been working out really good. Let me talk to you a little bit about one of our signature programs that has evolved over the last few years, last 4 years, I would say. We have what is called the IUCEE International Engineering Educator Certification Program. This is initially with some collaboration with International Society of Engineering Education, IEECP Austria, my good friend Dr. Michael Auer, who was a former president of IFES, and the bottom are the instructors from all over the world who do this workshop. And how do we do it? We do it in a way that we have a phase 1 workshop, 3 days. One of these experts will go to some location within India, and others will join. And let's see, I'm having a quick update on some comments here. Please hide poll. Okay, sorry about that. I have a poll which is not hidden. So thank you, Sridhar. That's how I need. Okay, there we go. So this is, so let me step back a little bit. I must have missed the previous. Okay, so this is the International Engineering Education Certification Program, and so we do the phase 1 let me just see another question. I still see the quest slides. We're not changing. Slide moving. Okay, but sorry about that, guys. As you can see, it's good. Just get some interaction. So as I said, we had courses, and then going back here, we have the certification program, which is really a signature program, and as the phase 1, 2, and 3 for this program. Phase 1 is face-to-face, where we have 30 to 40 faculty get together in one location, and one of our experts goes and conducts a 3-day workshop covering these 6 topics: teaching and learning, curriculum design, a dynamic classroom, harnessing technology, collaborative learning, effective assessment. They do this through assignments and discussion. And that takes off. And the important thing is that they do this while they're teaching classes, so that they practice all of these techniques in their classroom, and not just practice, but they reflect on what has been happening with them and with the students, and they come back and discuss these reflections with other participants of the course, which is when it's done the phase 2, which is done online. And then the phase 3 is where they put it all together like a capstone project, and put it all together into a teaching portfolio, which they in a written form, and then make an oral presentation. And I know several folks here today are actually very actively involved in this program. We have several instructors and who participate in these various sessions. So the idea here is this, okay? That teaching is a skill, and I think needs to be taught, and a good way to make sure people learn is to have a certification program. I think all over the world, many of us make the assumption that somehow, if you give a person a certain body of knowledge as a content, learn about some subject, get a master's or a PhD, somehow they are automatically qualified to teach. Which is wrong. It becomes a disaster for most people, because they don't really have any idea how to teach or how to make the effort more student-centric, where learners are actually learning. So I think this has been a big success, and we've been able to keep the costs fairly low. So one of our hopes is that we can scale this up to thousands of faculty all over India and maybe around the world. So far in the last few years, we have certified 432 faculty, and a couple more hundred are going to be done this year. As I said, that's a very small pilot, and we hope that that it will go on for larger numbers all over India, as well as maybe some of the policymakers see that it's a good thing. They might encourage more people to join, and other countries might do the same. Okay, so that's our signature program. And let me just do one thing here. Let me just again get away from this monotonous thing. I just ask you a quick question. Are you part of the IUCEE Certification Program? Maybe in some way, form or the other. I think some of you are part of this, and just curious if you have quite a few of you who are. So those who are part of it jumped right in and said yes, I can see that, and so we have quite a few who have around India who are from part of IUCEE joined us, which is good. I want to thank you all for joining and supporting our program. I'm going to close. Again, this is another, just intersperse that, after sitting for 5-10 minutes, I get bored myself. I need to do something active, right? So as I'm going to share and show you that about 40% of you said that you have some involvement with the IUCEE and the certification program, and about 60% this time I'm going to make sure I hide it so that, let's see, I get a prompt here, so Ramiro, I think because you're a panelist, okay, you're asking me, can I not? So those who I made a few of you panelists, so maybe that's why you're not able to participate in the poll. The participants are able to do that. About 85 of them have part of that. So I think I've hidden the poll this time so that you can see the slides again, I think, without somebody prompting me to do that. Great. So moving on, this is something our dream is that this scales up in a big way, not only in India but also around the world. And because I really think from the feedback we receive, it's been a fantastic program, and many faculty have benefited a lot. Many students have benefited a lot in the process. The next level, that basic certification course is what gets faculty and students to focus on learning rather than just teaching. The next level is to get them engaged get the students engaged in the community projects, because they really need to have this type of skills that are needed to do projects, which doesn't come from just doing technical projects. Technical knowledge comes from skills like communication skills, planning, seeing a need and being able to come up with some criteria for designing a solution, problem solving, and getting involved with the community. So these are when industry tells us that these how most of our students are not employable. It's most of the time it's not the technical content, because technical content keeps changing every year. For the most part, they're telling us that that our students don't know how to look at a situation and identify the need, identify the problem, and then come up with alternate solutions and try out one or two solutions, and then go back and redesign the solution and then build a prototype of some sort, and all the while focus on the customer, the community or the client, and get their needs. And so these require skills beyond just technical skills. It requires skills to talk to each other, to work in teams, to do project management, to and to write and even get involved with policy and the local communities. And so we felt, and I think many people around the world will agree, and in particular Bill Oakes, who has this EPICS program at Purdue University. So we've been working with them for about 3-4 years now, and many college institutions within India are now doing this. And we have 24 institutions and 400 faculty have been working with communities around their own, within their own region. And Bill has been coming regularly to help us in this process. And so the idea is that this course takes us beyond just employability. You work on real projects which have all the real dimensions of uncertainties and needs for other than technical skills. And this makes them leaders, and eventually if some things work out, they become entrepreneurs. And so That's what we need, and not just people who get graduate and say, "Give me a job." I just want to work for somebody. I think the world will change only if people take up entrepreneurship and try to make things happen on their own. And so that's beginning in a small way. Again, lots and lots more has to have to be done. We have several, just a few examples. Just simple things like tricycle for handicapped students, a low-cost paddy planter, education kits, working with the homeless, and drawing well water, and using developing some kind of an app for managing volunteers, and so on. And rainwater pathway, working with solid waste disposal, a health kit, healthcare app, and so on, hybrid lighting, self-care toilets. So a bunch of things like this have been completed by many of our, some of our institutions in the communities. And so doing this, gets the students to really to learn how to, be real engineers. And so the work is going on. It's just a beginning. I know there are other groups who are working on grand challenges and Engineering Without Borders, doing similar types of things. So let me just so we move on to the next slide here and say, okay, we're doing all these things. Once again, let me take a quick look, and I did have another poll that I was going to show. I don't want to poll you to death. But I just wanted to just get some idea what hide that, and then let's see the third poll, whether you're part of any programs, community programs such as EPICS or Engineers Without Borders or Grand Challenges program. Just to get a sense, because I think eventually, I think engineering education has to do more and more and more of those. Of these kinds of programs in the communities if we're going to have an impact on the world, and so that's important. Okay, so both options. Okay, that's fine. If you have both options, then then that's fine. That's good. And so so I'm going to stop there. Just wanted to get a flavor for this. I don't want to again pull you to death. So let's. About 50-50. I think some of you are involved with this, some of you are not, and that is fine. And I'm just going to hide that. Okay, so so things are happening. Okay, things are happening. Okay, the point here is that with the webinars, with the courses, with the certification program, with the EPICS program, and so on, institutions are doing stuff. Okay, that's important. We have to get people at the baseline and the colleges to innovate, to do new things, experiment with new ways of making sure the students are learning useful stuff to make them into leaders. Once they do that, then of course they have to start sharing with each other, talk with each other, tell some other, okay, I've tried this, it didn't work, I tried that, it worked. What did you try? Can we work together to try the things together and maybe learn better by combining our resources? Maybe my faculty come to your institution, and so it's all about networking among people and with the international groups to go to the next level. In fact, this was. These conferences were initiated by my good friend Ashok Shettar, who is now the Vice Chancellor of Caltech University. Is a very specific example of how some of these things evolved from the time we started in 2007 and 2008. There was a college in Hubli, small town in Karnataka, which was affiliated to most colleges in India, when they get started, they'd be affiliated to a university, so they don't have a lot of autonomy to do their own thing, like setting exams and so on. So they have to, or their own curriculum is dictated by the university. So in 2008, they felt that they want to go become a university at some point, and so they gradually, over the last 10 years, they have, with the help of IUCEE and other resources around the world, they now have become a university. So, and along the way in 2014, Ashok Shettar said, hey, we would like to share what we are doing and maybe learn from what others are doing. And that's when the conferences started. And so that's been really, really exciting. We've had, every year we have about 1,000 folks joining together, typically in January. And if some of you have not been part of this, we'd like to welcome you to join us. Every January we have it, and we'll get some information. We also have a journal, and the college that is hosting this journal, their director is right with us, Sushma Kulkarni. the Journal for Engineering Education Transformations. Again, because if you're innovating, trying something new, you need to talk about it, you need to publish and use this as a way to, to get professional qualifications. We obviously work with IFES and GEDC and ASEE and all the experts associated with them. And so we help our IUC institutions, make all of these connections and go to these conferences. And so we also have a student group that runs student programs, student chapters in all our colleges and organizes the Global Student Forum. And at the end of that, just last couple of years ago, we felt that none of this really moves unless the leadership in these institutions is continuously aware of what needs to be happen and aware of promoting the right people, of encouraging the faculty to do these transformations and provide them with the resources. So we have this sharing of the leadership in Goa, beautiful place. We have every July. We have now the leadership summit. We will have one this July in July 11th to 13th, where the leadership comes together with one or two of the key faculty members and share and learn and think about collaborating. Industry experts come, and then we have plans, and then we follow them, help them follow up the plans over the years or throughout the year, and so on. So I'm getting a few questions, and we'll certainly address that because I'm getting to the I'll try to complete as soon as possible. So this this ecosystem for transforming must obviously involve engineering education research, and so some of our faculty are learning to do deep thinking in terms of publishing and doing research in that area, which is because unless you do research on what's happening, and you cannot suggest other innovations that can need to happen. And just before I close, I want to emphasize one example of a situation where we were able to convince a policymaker in one state. This is one out of I even lost track of 25 states all over India. The Andhra Pradesh government, they have something called the Skill Development Corporation, and so they approached us and said, "Hey, you guys are doing all this neat stuff. Why don't you do it as a state level with a whole bunch of colleges within our state?" So we created a chapter, and 50 to 75 colleges have become involved with that, and we all of the elements of the ecosystem that we have created over the years, we focus them through this organization for this particular state, and so and they give us a lump sum amount of funding for the year. So we experimented with that in 2017, 2018, and of course, as it happens, when you're working with the politics and the state governments, politics becomes an issue. So there's new elections going on in that state, and so this year we don't have that funding, and hopefully when the elections are over next year we get more funding from them again. But it's important to have these kinds of models so other states get involved, and that helps us scale up and work with larger numbers of people and so on. But I just want to share that there are good things and bad things and lessons to be learned from these. So let me conclude by talking about some of the challenges, and one is focusing on institutional leadership. Working with them is always a challenge because they're all quite different. Organizations are quite different. They always are afraid to collaborate because of they're competing with the other colleges for the same some of the good students. And challenge also in engaging policymakers in industry. We are aware of all these. We've been trying very hard to maybe move in that direction, but slow. It all takes very, very slow. The lessons learned, we must make sure that the people who are benefiting from it, as Narayan Murthy told us right in the beginning, make sure they actually have a stake in it, financial stake in what we're doing. That way they become more serious. Also lesson learned, it takes time. It's very, very slow. Also lesson learned, the engineering design process, and enlightened trial and error. You have to keep doing things and learn as you do and try things out and then reflect on it and modify it. So, and then listen, have patience, adapt, all of the usual things that mature folks like to think about. So what would you like to do in the next 3 years? Maybe perhaps scale up the certification program to larger communities all over India and anywhere around the world, set up some of the community projects and focus on human-centered design, which is we give that as a course to all of the faculty who are involved with the EPICS program, because one of the challenges is that faculty do not have the skills to guide students on community projects. That's a very, very big challenge, and so we have to help them do that through setting up centers for teaching and learning, through teaching and outcome-based education, through project management, and how to guide students to do these kinds of projects. So working with faculty is a very important key, and obviously then working with policymakers, industry, NGOs, and how to adapt these to other regions. We collaborate then with IPEPICS. We've started collaborating with now with peace engineering, grand challenges, with our borders, etc. Next 10 years, hopefully, we'll move to more and more towards the sustainability goals. Let me end the formal presentation, and then we can have some time for chit chat and discussions with whoever wants to participate. We have a mantra, okay, right from the beginning, right from 2008, and those of you in the audience know what the second half of this mantra is, right? As I'm teaching, are they learning? That's our mantra. So, for all our faculty, just keep this in their heads all the time. I think a lot of difference can be made. And some of you, I think Elsie asked me what keeps me awake at night. The IUCEE is what keeps me awake at night, doing all the issues related to what we're trying to do. What lets me sleep at night also is IUCEE, because we made some progress, and it looks like it's a good thing. All right, so let me end there, and then go back to the maybe the first slide, and have some discussion, right? Have a little chat. So those of you who want to maybe make some comments and discussions and so on, please send me a text message. There's a panel to the right where you have a feature, and so if you can text whatever is in your mind. You've got 81 of you. Wow, okay, that's grown. I'm going to start with my good friend and colleague Ramiro and Uriel, who are both IFES members, to make a few comments, and then I'm going to ask Sushma Kulkarni, Director of Rajan Babu Institute of Technology, to tell us a little bit about, based on her experience. Let's start with that. Ramiro, you want to unmute yourself and have a little comments, reflection?
Perfect. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, I want to really congratulate what you have done, you and your team. This has had a tremendous impact in India, and this is something that we, meaning ISTEC, we've been following you because we've been trying to implement something along these lines, and instead of reinventing the wheel, we need to team up. We've been struggling in Latin America for the past 28 years, but I think now the technology is there, and we need to learn from you. So I want to really, really congratulate you. There's so many different organizations, and there's so much overlap. And I think the forum of having IFES and GDC, where we can exchange also these different activities that we're doing, or allow us to be more agile. And again, we need to move fast. And I think this is one of the peace engineering efforts that I will really push for the next 2 years. So I just want to congratulate you and welcome everybody, and thank everybody also for participating.
Thank you, Ramiro. Just Uriel, you want to jump in there? You're self-muted? Yeah.
Hello, are you hearing me?
Yes, Uriel, my friend.
Okay. Hello, good morning, everybody from Argentina, where Ramiro also is today. So he's visiting us, and I want to share him in congratulating you and all the people that has in some way collaborated with this amazing initiative that you have led it for the last years. And while I was hearing you, I was thinking if I would be able to do something similar in my own country, in Argentina. Things are not very well here today, and we are now in the middle of a process of changing the engineering accreditation standard, and we have a challenge to train thousands of engineering educators all over the country for adapting them to these new accreditation standards. So we will surely need to do something similar to what you are doing in India. So this is really exemplary, an exemplary initiative, and I will personally try to do something similar here in Argentina if it is possible.
Great, thank you, Oriel and Ramiro. And again, the reason I've been aggressively pushing these IFES webinars is that this sharing, and now with technology available, there's so much that can be shared. And so whatever help you need, and which can be done through these webinars, because traveling is expensive, and of course you need face-to-face to some extent. But I think a lot can be done through the electronic media. Sushma, can you give a couple of minutes of your experiences? You've been with us for the last 10 years or so. Sushma, go ahead.
Yes, sir. I think Krishna Vedula sir, you are the one who opened the doors of world for me, because I'm in touch with IUCEE since 2007, first time when you had come to Pune and we had discussions. And then from 2008 onwards, I'm part of all the activities which have been taken up by IUCEE. And I think that has opened the world to me. Being in a place like Islampur, it's a small place in Maharashtra, India. The exposure was not much. And I will say it coincides with the time when I took, as a head of institute, as a principal, when I took the charge and I got connected with Krishna Vedula. So I think that was my luck. And sir, whatever you say, it may be innovation in teaching learning, which I could bring in my institute. It is outcomes-based education, the exposure which we could get in Mysore through the workshops, leadership workshops. Then it could be about autonomy, how an institute, autonomous institute can get benefited, because we got our autonomy inspired by IUCEE workshops and we became autonomous in 2011. Then I also want to mention the visits which you had arranged in USA, where we visited 6 universities right from West Coast to East Coast. So from Boston to Seattle. So that gave us an insight that what universities are and how US is working on engineering education, how students are developed, because we had a lot of interactions with the students. Interviews were arranged with students, interviews were arranged with the faculty, provosts, deans. So all that, just opened our eyes, and our management was also with us. So the important thing which you said about leadership summits, which you are conducting now in Goa. So it really needs that the same vision is shared by management also, so that we can take the things forward. So since our management was there, so in our autonomy, we could bring in a lot of changes in curriculum, project-based learning, experiential learning, all this terminology we learned over there. And then I would like to say that we also had a great problem about employability of our graduates. So following up all these things, it gradually improved our student merit, admissions, and of course the placement. So today the placements are around 70–75%. There are around, I'll say, 10% students who go for higher education outside India. So all this global exposure, now we teach Japanese and German language in our institute. So all this is, I think, because we got connected with IUCEE, we could have that bigger vision and a thought process to change the teaching, learning, curriculum, delivery, evaluation, everything. And I will just close up by saying that because we publish a journal with IUCEE, which is Journal of Engineering Education Transformation, and that is a platform to publish the papers, as sir has already told, whatever the conferences, ICT, which is organized every year. So JEET is a platform where all the excellent papers which are selected for conference, which are presented, they are published. And we have our own peer evaluation process. And I'm happy to say, after 4 years of working with IUCEE, now it is a Scopus indexed journal. So papers have H-index citation, and hence now it has become more popular. So I'll make an appeal again on this platform that since I'm also connected to GDC, I should say IUCEE has opened the gate to GDC also. So my dream is that this journal should go to whole world. Everyone should contribute to it. So with this, I'll close. Thank
Right.
you so much for giving me the
Thank
opportunity.
you, Sushma. Let me reinforce that last commercial that she gave
Yeah,
about JEET. Please
yeah.
help us make JEET a global journal. It is high quality. We have Dr. Som Sohoni from Arizona State University, who's really doing a fantastic job as a chief editor of that and co-chief editor, and good quality papers. And it's like any other high quality peer reviewed papers journal of engineering education. Ramakrishna from National Academy of Engineering. I'm going to unmute you and see if you have a few words that you had a question or comment that you want to make, and then I'll go to Rio, another example of a college that has been working with us. Rama, go ahead.
Thank you, Krishna. Thank you for the presentation, and thank you for all the work that you're doing. It's really a wonderful impact it's having. But my specific questions, I would like to keep it short and maybe hear comments from the participants, is that, how do you measure the impact of IUCEE, especially on students? I'm just giving you some examples. I've heard this or read this somewhere that 80% or so of the engineering graduates go into software, whether they are electrical or mechanical or chemical, in the job market, because the job market is driving that kind of that direction. But obviously, we need all the types of engineers to contribute to address these grand challenges that you mentioned. So how is is there a change after IUCEE has come in, and have you been able to track that? And then the other question I've heard is that are we addressing the need there, or are we creating more engineers, especially in India? Because I've heard some, and also articles about this, that the numbers of engineers, even in the seats in engineering colleges, are not being filled. I don't know whether it's across certain set of colleges, or is it more broad than that? So the question is, are we creating the number and the kind of engineers that especially in India that really needs? Thank you.
Good comments, Rama. All good questions. I don't really have an answer. Maybe I'll ask Rio maybe to jump in and tell us his experiences. She's by the way, the speaker earlier, Sushma Kulkarni, is the head of the Rajaram Bapu Institute of Technology, the director of the institute, and now we have the dean of St. Joseph College of Engineering, Rio. See if he can say a few words. Rio, are you prepared to say a few words or not? Give it a try. If you can unmute yourself. Otherwise, we'll just move on to other people. It's fine. Sometimes connectivity becomes an issue. But let me just say hello to a bunch of other people. Before I do that, let me read out a few comments and questions that have been coming. So are you targeting, this is Abid Ali Khan saying, are you targeting for quality improvement of faculty through FTP or targeting students? We have a few programs for students, Abid, but most of us, we feel is, if we can improve the quality of the faculty, then the chances are that will stick for a longer period of time. And so that's why most of our programs are on faculty. Now, Rio has unmuted himself. You want to may add a few comments?
Yes, Krishna. Thank you. Our journey with IUCEE began, 6 years back, and it has been a great.
But in fact, you were with us even 12 years back, Rio. I remember.
10 years for me personally. I'm talking about an institution. We became consortium member.
Right.
So that is
right.
For me, yes, 10, 12 years, great journey being associated. And for us as an affiliated institution, most of the colleges in India are affiliated. It has been a great opportunity to grow, and it has helped us to grow. It has helped us to bring a lot of development in the college in terms of having the faculty contribute as leaders, build leaders. This is a great platform. The conferences, the certification, and other opportunities, webinars that we have, these have helped us grow. And I think this has been the same story with many of the institutions, other institutions. Now we have come to the verge of autonomy. Next year we got accreditation for our courses, and all this, the outcome-based education and the required background resources that are required to get faculty trained on them. This is something which IUCEE has helped us with. IUCEE has been a great partner, and I think it will bring in a lot of transformation, sustainability. That is one thing which I'm sure will happen, because we see this. We see in our faculty a transformation, and then they take it to the students. The transformation is taken to the students. And that way, I'm sure we have a great potential going forward. So thank you for all this, Krishna, and
Thank you, Rio.
thank
And I know that you are also trying to become influence the other colleges in the region, because that's what we need. I think people like Sushma Kulkarni and Rio are trying to connect with other colleges in the region and together do things. And so I have a couple of comments from the audience. I've got James Uho Moibi from Africa, I believe, is saying this is a wonderful achievement. My question is, in what way can current success be transferred to other developing nations, especially like countries in Africa? I think a very relevant question. That is exactly what Hans Hoyer, Ramiro, myself, we've all been talking about. And I would very have, I'm very happy. I mean, I would like to see many of our friends from Africa join these webinars to get some background information, and then we can think about how to tailor some of these kinds of programs. Like certification program is something that can definitely be transferred to various countries in Africa as a starting point, because that is done largely by blended online. We can arrange for people to come to Africa, give the phase-one workshops, and so on. So that can be done, James. So good, thank you for that question. I have another one from Anand Rao saying that Namaskar, the Ministry of Government in India has something called the Unnat Bharat Abhiyan with several institutions, and there is a good synergy with your initiative, especially community projects. I absolutely agree, Anand Rao. We have made some connection with them, but we need to make more connections and to have a robust collaboration with them. Harita says in this kind of ecosystem, it can help a lot of transformation. It's helping faculty. Thank you for your comment. Chandrabhushan Rao is saying that student projects are linked with industry in the second year onwards, and that's helping. Then we got Felix Arokia. Thanks for the efforts. Contributions rather than competition. Contributions rather than competition will help colleges to share initiatives and so on. So let me go back to see if I can get a few. Vijay Kanabar wants to comment on a couple of things. He's also been on our journey from Boston University. So let me go to Vijay, and then maybe if Sydney is still with us, I'll try to get Sydney, and then have LC also say a few words, and then we'll get close to the end of the thing. So let's see. So I'll go to Vijay Kanabar. If Sydney's around, I'll get to him, and then LC, and then or maybe we'll probably be ending by then. Vijay, unmute. I'm going to unmute you. Go ahead. You have to unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Okay. Hi. Hello. Thank you very much. A very good session. I'm going to comment on the nature of where the focus should be going forward. There is two things that come to mind. First, let me focus on eventually what people are concerned about. The outcome is graduates that are employable. From that perspective, it'll help us if big data plays a role in analyzing exactly where the marketplace is going and what kind of skills they're looking for. LinkedIn does data mining of the major corporations in various parts of the world, and they do tell that certainly things like project management is a key competency which IUCEE is addressing, but there are other things that are equally soft skill, teamwork, which is again a focus from EPICS and other projects. There is things like problem solving, negotiation, leadership, perseverance, and motivation. All of these are collaborative learning. All of these are very important topics that need to be addressed and that should show up somehow in the future curriculum. To talk about collaborative aspect and the interdisciplinary aspect, I want to say two things. Probably 10 minutes from where we live is the MIT telescope, which is making news around the world. This is the telescope that imaged the black hole. And Krishna, this is not more than 10 minutes drive from where we are. It's a truly global interdisciplinary project. There are hardware engineers involved, from what I'm reading. There are computer science people involved. So I think where things are going is certainly interdisciplinary in nature. We shouldn't be concerned that more people are taking computer science positions. but I think there has to be a focus on interdisciplinary. For example, biotech, biomedical, all of these life sciences are going to be integrated with engineering.
We need to move on. Okay.
Yes, yes. So I think the question was where we should go 10 years from now, and I think we need to focus on interdisciplinary aspect of IUCEE education and curriculum, and certainly continue to focus on soft skills like project management and even more soft skills. Thank you.
Elsie, do you want to jump in? Can you unmute yourself? I've unmuted you.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please, Elsie. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm, for those who don't know, I'm coming to you from New York, and I am, I'm an outsider to your world. I'm not an educator. I am an advisor to leaders of corporations and of intersectional collaboration. And our specialty is anticipating trends and helping them to realign around them. My experience with engineering education, I think, started when we worked with Joe Bordogna at the IEEE. And there was an insight that they asked us to help them with, which is where are the needs emerging from? How can we best, as the IEEE, support the engineers of tomorrow? And frankly, that was back in the late 90s. And the issues that you're grappling with now were showing themselves back then. So I guess my point is the big sort of transformation that you're anticipating is something that everyone is going through. You're not alone. And you can look at it as a transformation of mindset and skill set to adjust to the fact that we are in a systems reality. So as the previous speaker talked about, yes, there are soft skills that we all in corporations, in finance, in engineering and education are grappling to catch up with. So you're not alone. Congratulations on your progress. But the need has become more urgent and more imminent. One of the success factors in the corporate transformations, and I'll close with this, has been focusing on impact. And someone earlier talked about what metrics are you using for success? What metrics are you using to identify improvements in employability of engineers? And there might be something to learn from what's happening now with the Sustainable Development Goals. We've just completed a study of financial services sector, and the Sustainable Development Goals have served as a kind of an anchor for the kind of analysis of corporate performance and therefore of how the corporations are redefining their success. So one thing I'd suggest that you think about is collectively, is there a set of impacts that you can agree on that can help focus attention and resources at the level of something like the SDGs? What role should engineering play in supporting corporations who now are focusing on the SDGs? So I just close with that and tell you it's a privilege to be part of this conversation, and it's so important what you're doing.
Thank you so much, Elsie. Bill from Portugal, if you want to have 30 seconds, if you want to chat. Want to come in, Bill from Portugal, Bill Williams?
Yeah, sure, Krishna. I thought your key learning points were very useful, but I was wondering if, for example, if we have people here today, like in Africa, countries, in Africa or in other Asian countries, what would be and they wanted to start doing something similar. What would be your recommendation, Krishna, to get started?
I think the first step would be maybe to do this teaching and learning process. Get them to focus on learning and maybe have this structured course of some sort, adapt some things that we're doing to start with a few faculty. start, some colleges start with a few faculty, and I think, and then have these kinds of interactions online, and have some people go to the local places, 1 or 2 places, and get started small, very, very small, baby steps. In any country. I think everybody gets a little scared with all the huge problem. Start small, just baby steps, and I think we can help with that. That would be my recommendation. Okay, thank you, Bill. And I'm going to close with this commercial. We'd like all of you to try to come to our Chennai WEEF, World Engineering Education Forum. This is the IFES annual event, which is being held this year in Chennai, in India. A very unique opportunity for India. And as you can see here, the deadline for submission of abstracts is June 30th. On the bottom, you can see that. So please submit abstracts. They'll be reviewed, and then full papers will be requested. And please plan on it. It's from 13th to 16th November. There's a global student forum which will happen in parallel, starting on the same dates. You would love, and we're trying to see if we can arrange a little extra 3 days, sightseeing after the conference, where you can go to Delhi and Jaipur and Agra. So keep that in mind and plan for your this trip. And again, as we've run out of time, and I'm a stickler for starting on time and ending on time. I know there are a few other comments that have come in. We'll try to address them at some point in the future. But thank you all for joining, and have a good day, good afternoon, good evening, good night, from wherever you are, different parts of the world. Take care. Bye.